Well, next topic is actually very interesting. I think there are youngsters, there are Gen Zs, those who are interested in the part of consultant and of course in the managing counseling. So here we have on the topic of stop micromanaging, building managers and who actually manages. So I would like to request Mr. Matt Singers from Management Consultant, Matt Singers Management Consulting. He's here to give you the insight actually who manages who. So everyone please put your hands together and let's welcome him on the stage.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Matt Singers, and I have built multiple million-dollar businesses. And one of the key ways I've done so is by managing well. My background is in large corporate management with IBM, Xerox, and large companies. But today, I want to share with you some of the key lessons that I have learned from my time in the corporate world and building multiple million-dollar companies. So, there's three key things that comes down to when we're talking about micromanagement. Number one is doing the right things. What I see for a lot of business owners, a lot of managers, is they're focused on the wrong aspect. They're focused on the wrong things. They look at people like Elon Musk and they say, oh, you have to work 16 hours a day to be successful. But it doesn't matter how long and how much you work if you're doing the wrong things. Second aspect is delegation. Delegation is the number one key skill to learn as a leader and as a manager if you want to succeed. And the core aspect here is going to be helping you improve and get to a good level of leadership and with delegation. And the last thing we'll talk about is getting out of the way. Too many people is stuck with their team and they're in a situation consistently where they keep putting their head back in. They're in a situation where they can't let people run their jobs, they can't let people do what they're supposed to do. They keep interrupting. So, doing the right things. Number one, prioritization. People talk about time management all the time. And here's the thing. You cannot manage time. You can't. The only thing you can do is you can manage what you do within the time you have available. And the reason why this is fundamentally key is because this is the difference between success and failure in every business. It is learning to do the right things. It is learning to take out time to sit down and say, what do I need to do to double my business, to triple my business, or as my prior speaker here said, 5x or even more that company, right? So that's the first step. The second thing is looking at what should you be doing. So when you're looking at doing the right things, you want to look at what are the things from a leadership standpoint that the future can bring to the business, right? What are the things that you need in the company? What is the environment that you need to provide for your team and for the business to thrive in? Because reality is, as a leader, there's so many things you can do. You all have to-do lists that are very long with things you would like to do. But the right things to do as a leader is the things only you can do. And those are setting the vision for the company. Those are looking at your company's future, looking at the competitors around and saying, what do we need to do to win? And what are the things not to do? So all of you are here today for one reason. At some point, someone somewhere trusted you. Right? At some point, someone said, hey, there's something I need you to do, and they gave you the trust to go and figure out something. And it's incredibly important that as a leader, you do the same to your team. So leaders have been given ownership and responsibility themselves, either from their team or from clients. But they don't know how to keep handing that down. And the simplest lesson is look at how you grew. Look at who trusted you and who enabled you to go and do and become who you are today. So, when it comes to delegation, you want to look at how do I increase the value of my pyramid. So every company is a pyramid. Some pyramids are bigger and have more people. Some pyramids are smaller and have less people. But the fundamental aspect is the same. You want to look at each stone in the pyramid and see how do I increase the value. How do I make sure that my time becomes more valuable? And the only way you can do that is taking things you're doing and pushing them down in the organization. Because what that does is that helps them increase their value, and that enables them to push some of the things they're doing further down. So when you're looking at increasing value, you can think of it as a pyramid, and you can think of every time you're doing something that someone else in your team could be doing, you're wasting company resources. So sometimes it sounds easy to say, yeah, I will just do this because it's faster if I do it, or it takes a while to train someone else to do it. But the mindset, the very simple mindset is, if you want to grow your business, you need to give the things that can be done by other people to other people. You want to push it down in the organization. That is the most important aspect of growing your power and growing your influence as a leader. Now, second thing that people often get wrong is the delegation of tasks instead of the delegation of responsibility. Now, what is the difference? A lot of the time people sit down and they look at their to-do list and they say, oh, here I have one thing I can hand to someone. And they might even show them how to do it, or they might hand them a process of how to do it. But reality is, the way you grow people, the way you really make sure people succeed, is by giving them ownership and responsibility. So what you want to make sure is that when you're giving ownership and responsibility to someone, you're not just like, hey, here's a task, go do it. Because no one enjoys that. Right? What people enjoy is being trusted. What people really enjoy is when someone gives them ownership and say, hey, you're responsible for this thing. How do you do it right? It's simple. Instead of telling someone to sit down and do 100 emails a day, it is looking at the end goal. It is looking at the end goal and saying, with this responsibility I'm giving. And that could be giving someone responsibility for a division, it could be for a very low-level task, but it is giving them the responsibility and the end goals and the end objective that you're looking to achieve. So if I give ownership of one of my companies or one of my divisions to one of my staff members, and I say, I want you to own this, I'll tell them why I'm giving it to them. I'll tell them what they've done to deserve it, and then I will set very clear expectation of what I want them to achieve. Because the expectations and the goals, just like when a client comes to you and say, hey, we want to pay you money, in exchange we would like this outcome, right? Your team functions the same way. So you want to make sure that you give them clear objectives. And if they want help, if they come asking you for help, that's totally okay. But you generally want to give people the outcome you're looking for, and you want to let them go and do it. Because this is how humans grow. Every single person in this room, you are here because someone somewhere trusted you. Now, if you don't do the same to your staff, if you don't give them the ownership and responsibility, you're holding back their growth. And more importantly, you're holding back the growth of your business. So, I hope you're all ready to give responsibility. The last aspect of delegation is getting the right people on board. Because delegating obviously requires a certain level of trust. But in my experience, very few people do bad things on purpose. No one wakes up in the morning and says, I want to do a bad job today. I've never met anyone that does so, right? So getting the right people is often something that takes time to learn how to get the right people on the bus. But with the prior framework, with giving people ownership and responsibility, you can see where people excel. You can see what is it people do extremely well, and what is the areas where they're able to show you opportunity, right? What are the areas where they really stand out, and where you can give them more responsibility. Generally, my focus when I'm giving ownership to my team is to give them an ownership, give them a timeline, and let them go do it. So, get out of the way. How do you get out of the way? So as I said, set the right goals. Most companies struggle to set goals the right way. They struggle to set goals that are focused on the end outcome instead of the next step. As an example, if you have simple roles, if you have people doing customer service, their goal is not to answer 100 phone calls or to send 100 emails. Their goal is to achieve something with the customer, to give the customers a certain outcome. And if the core focus in your business is just on the goal that's nearest to them, then you're never going to have people that come up and suggest ideas on how to improve. You're never going to have people that come up and improve your processes. Because if they don't understand and if they're not kept accountable to the end goal of what they're doing, you're not going to get great output from it. So, that's key. No backseats. So often, leaders hand out responsibility, and they are not happy with the speed, they're not happy with the execution, and then they say, oh, let me take this thing back. Don't do it if there's any possible way not to do it. Keep working with your staff, keep pushing your staff, and keep making sure that you're giving them the ownership they need, right? When you're doing it, you would rather spend more time with your staff and help them accomplish what they need to do, rather than doing things yourself. And what I mean with that is that the second you manage other people, it stops being about what you do, and it starts being about what your team achieves. And that's a fundamental core lesson, right? You want to make sure that you invest as much of your time as you can into your team. If you're too busy doing things, if you're too busy to spend time with your team, with all due respect, you're generally doing the wrong things. Because as a leader, you want your team to deliver. You want your team to be responsible. You want your team to be the driver behind the success of your business, of your area of responsibility, right? And that is the only way you get there. One of my favorite things to do is take a vacation. And one of the challenges that I set to most of my newer managers is that within the first 6 months, I want them to take a 2-week vacation, and I want their team to be fully self-sustainable and fully operational and being able to deliver better results while they're away than when they're there. Because that is the true measurement of responsibility, and ownership. Now, despite owning 5 companies, I take 3 months of vacation every single year. Every single summer, I take 3 months and I travel around the world and I do a lot of this, speaking to people. I do a lot of meeting with potential clients around the world and so on. But I have 3 months where I very, very seldom check in with my teams. And my only goal to my teams when I'm traveling is that when I come back after my 3 months travel, the company or their department is bigger than when I left. That is my number one goal to them, right? And occasionally they fail. But the majority of time, when I come back after 3 months, the company is doing better than when I left. And that simply comes down to giving my team ownership and responsibility. And after I give them the ownership and responsibility, I let them feel it. I let them take it. I'll take days off, and if people have questions, I tell them to do what they think is the right choice, right? Because again, as leaders, we have a tendency to micromanage things. We have a tendency to get our hands on too many things. And when we touch too many things, what happens is we slow progress. Every single time in my company where I am the bottleneck, I'm slowing down my business. Every single time where things are waiting for my approvals, I'm slowing down my business. The only time where I want my approval to be necessary is if we are doing very, very huge moves. So if we're buying another business, if we're doing something significant, right? But generally, my focus is putting the right strategy, the right vision in place for my team, along with the right goals to ensure that the team is able to take that, go away, and deliver. And that is fundamentally how I'm able to stand in front of you today and stand in front of so many other audiences around the world, is from giving my team responsibility and ownership. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. We request you to please stay here. And while requesting him, I would like to request Mr. Vishal Kedia, the founder, Kamras, and Joint Secretary, TiECON Chandigarh, to please kindly come forward and present a token of love, a gesture from TiECON Chandigarh. Everyone, please put your hands together. Thank you so much, beautiful. Thank you so much for being here with us.